My name is Thomas Hoover. I'm Associate Vice Chancellor and CIO at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. Susan, do you want to?
I am Susan Lazenby, and I work for Tom. I am the Manager of Strategic Planning and Communication for Central IT. Thank you guys for coming to our session today. Boston's wonderful, and we're happy to be here. We're going to take a little bit of time and go through some of our benchmarking and where our sources come from to start off the presentation. So I just want to say where we get our stuff from, because I feel like that's one of the most important things that you can know. We get a lot of our information from our peer institutions. We also look at our athletic conferences. We look around our region and do a lot of analysis for peers in our region. And then we look at our system schools. So we look at the UT system schools. We look at the TBR, which is the Tennessee Board of Regents schools. We also evaluate peers within the state that are not within the system, and we look and see where people from our institution have moved to and look at those schools and where they came from, because it's always a good source of information and you have a connection there that you can reach out to and really expand on. So when we look at these sources, we go to primarily EDUCAUSE. Do you guys use EDUCAUSE for the core data? Does everybody here use that? We found that to be a really successful place to get information because you can really batch it and evaluate it very successfully. We also look at the EDUCAUSE Center for Analysis and Research, and we look at the main website because they pull a lot of numbers and statistical analysis there that can be very beneficial, and it's stuff that you might not notice when you go in and actually evaluate the core data. In addition to doing those things, we do a lot of research on the other peer universities' websites, because a lot of the IT sites around our peer institutions have a lot of great data on them that we go through and we harvest. We look at Forrester and Gartner, and then the last thing we do is we reach out and ask. If you don't know an institution, that doesn't mean that you can't call them on the phone or send them an email and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for, this is why I need it, and this is why it's important for us at our institution. And I found that I've been doing this a lot for a couple years, and I've never had someone say no. Usually people bend over backwards to give you the information you need, and then they also reach back out and say, hey, we're doing a similar analysis, what can you help us with? So that's been a really good resource for us. So to go over some of our basic numbers to get started and why we had to do this, our central IT budget, this is for central IT at the University of Tennessee Chattanooga, is $2,382,049. That is not a big budget. We also have a student tech fee that's not included in that number, which is about another $2 million. The university fiscal budget for the year of 2015 is over $170 million. So it is a big difference. For full-time enrolled students, we have 10,080 signed up this coming year, and we have a faculty staff of 1,105. For central IT, we've recently had some cutbacks, and we have 35 central IT employees. So let's take those numbers and pull back just for a second and look at the University of Martin, which is in the state of Tennessee. And they have 6,800 students, so it's about half of what we have. They have an operating budget of $3,869,996, and their tech fee is pretty close to ours. You know, it's only about $400,000 shy of where we are. They spend about $2 million on benefits, and that gives them a total budget of over $6 million, which is a lot of money. Tennessee Tech has 11,000 students, and their operating budget is less than that. Their tech fee, however, is significantly greater, which leaves them an operating budget of over $9 million. And then we get to UTC, and we have a combined total budget of the $428,546 with the tech fee. And then the salaries and benefits, we're paying just over $1 million. It's $1,695,000. So our total budget is just over $4 million. And that's what we've got to work with for just under 12,000 students. So what we do with this data is we pull our peer institutions that are around us. So you can see we look at Auburn, we look at the College of Charleston, Kentucky, Tennessee Tech, and other schools that aren't necessarily close to us, but they have a similar size of student body, like the University of Nebraska at Omaha, and North Carolina at Wilmington, and we take those numbers and we pull them out to see what they're doing and where they're spending money. The reason this is important is because we want to see where everyone's spending money for their full-time enrolled students. because that really is a key number. How much are you spending on the students based on, what we have going on in IT? So the average for our peer institution group is $723. So that's the average. At UTC right now, we're $427 per student. That is significantly below average. Yes, I see your shocked faces. That's how we feel when we look at our budget sometimes too. But you know what? You can't say, oh, I magically have more money. You have to say, where are we and how do we get somewhere from here? Because I don't know anybody here that has like a university that's just writing checks and handing out money everywhere. You kind of have to live where you are. So we are below average. So where do we go? We look at more competitive benchmarking for staffing, and we say, okay, where are we strong and where are we weak? And for IT staffing, I think that these numbers are very relevant, even though they're 10, 11, and 12, because if you look at them, in 2012, we had 50 IT employees on our staff. But this year, because of some realignments and some retirements, we're down to 35. That's full-time employees in IT. So even with these numbers, you can see that we're below average, but we have to still proceed and go somewhere from there. So let's look at the data. The core data that we're looking at says that we're looking at Masters 1 institutions, and UTC, based on benchmarks, we should be spending $9,369,600. But as I said before, we have just over $4 million. So we are just shy of $5 million short of what we should be spending on full-time enrolled students. So where do you go for innovation? Where do you go for your backbone for your systems and networking support? Where does that money come from, and how do you come up with a plan to make that work? The next number that we have is that it's IT spending per institutional employee, because you can't just look at your students. You have to say, where are your employees? Your faculty and staff are what run your institution. They're how your students are successful, and you have to spend money on them also. That's a key element. So based on these numbers, we're almost $2 million shy of what we should be spending on faculty and staff for an average number. Usually, based on EDUCAUSE's numbers, 5% of the total IT should be coming out of the overall institutional expense budget. So you could think 5% of that budget should be what we were spending. Based on that number, we should be around $8,500,000. So you can see all of these numbers are a little bit different. But that still would leave us over $4 million shy of where we should actually be getting money. And we are about 55 employees short of what we would need to successfully manage that amount of funding and roll out things to the university. So, Tom's going to take us through some next points.
Thank you, Susan. And what we've really tried to do is to equalize all this stuff. No games, straight raw data out of EDUCAUSE. I mean, this was, if you're a member of Core Data, these peer institutions are university peer institutions. So these are the official university peer institutions that the university has signed off, and this is what we do our benchmarks against. Some are aspirational, some are just level. The interesting thing is, I was in New Orleans at Aleutian Live a couple months ago, and I was with the College of Charleston CIO, and I made a joke. I said, I just want you to know that we envy you, and that we look at your numbers for your benchmarks and just blown away. He goes, that's funny, because I feel like we don't have enough money, because the Citadel, which is literally like 2 blocks from him, has a ton more. So it's just interesting to look at it. When you're looking at it through a different spectrum, that he's like, what are you talking about? We're broke compared to the Citadel. So it's just interesting to kind of look at that way. So the other part of this was, okay, so we've looked at the benchmarks. Now we try to look at basically, the advantage that we have in IT is that versus other departments, don't tell them, but we have data. We have there's a lot more benchmarks that we can go. We have EDUCAUSE, we have Campus Tech. We've got all these other places out here that we can get data from. A lot of the other departments on campus don't have this stuff. And we also have some metrics that we can use on campus as far as routers and switches and all that stuff to actually show. So we took an inventory of everything on campus, and I'm talking everything. I'll show you an Excel spreadsheet in a little bit. So we have our routers, we have our switches, we have our access points for every place on campus. We have all the technology on there. We track the age of the equipment. We have it broken down by age. So we have, this kind of router, this brand, and we have exactly how old it is with a serial number to give us some real data. And we attempted to go ahead and develop an actual refresh schedule for infrastructure and client management. How many of you actually have a refresh budget? Okay, so about a third. Because as you can see, with a $400,000, essentially a $400,000 operating budget, there's no money into refresh. We basically make buy, because as we all know, the maintenance contracts on everything seem to go up 4 or 5% each year. So without our budgets going up, we're actually losing money each year. So there's no money in there to make investments and to refresh the technology. As far as just an real quick interesting data here, this is from our border router, and this was as of a couple months ago. But so 2 years, 5 weeks, and 5 days, 770 total days. We had downloaded over 2 petabytes of data. And I can assure you most of it was the educational videos on Netflix and the YouTube videos that are highly educational. So, but you can see, some serious data coming down and for downloads. Here's some of the technology on our network. As far as, you've got, starting in 2009, and this is where mobile devices, and I'm sure you're probably all are having the same thing. Our guess is that this little dot up here is probably going to be where it's going to be in a couple weeks when the students come back. One of the numbers that I didn't put up here was in, let's see, it was spring of 2015, April. We had already hit 18,600 devices on our mobile devices on our network. That's not the other. That's just mobile devices. Our total devices on our network were well over, I think it was close to 48,000. We actually had to go out and buy more licenses more Bradford licenses for our network. So you can see it. It's just it's Mount Everest. It's going straight up, and it's only going to get worse or better, however you want to look at it. Here are the concurrent network. So wired. So these are concurrent devices on the network. And you can see 5, 6 years ago, there's practically nothing compared to where we are right now and where we're going. And we'll make this, we'll give you a link, or we can get you a place where you can get these slides if you want these slides. We'll put them on our website. Here's some of the access points. And again, we talk about ballpark access points about $1,000 a piece. You're looking at a serious investment. You're talking $1.5 million here that's been invested in our wireless. We had probably 5, 6 years ago had very, very, very small numbers of wireless, and now we're close to 1,600. And my little running joke is that you literally could put an access point on every student's head, and it would not be enough. And it is so true. The amount of devices. You used to have in a classroom, you had 30 students. You had 30 devices. You had one access point, that's fine. Now you're talking in that same classroom, you're probably talking close to 60 to 70 devices off of one wireless. So you got a small pie. Pie isn't going 30 ways. Your pie now is going 90 ways. So how big is your piece of the pie? It's going to be small. You're going to complain. It's not going to be a good user experience. But you can also see the age of our access points there. We were blessed. We got some new to us access points from UT Knoxville that we installed that were newer than the older ones, so we're in the process of swapping those out. But we essentially will have to replace most of the AP, and these are Aruba access points, by the way. The 100 series essentially will have to be replaced by September of 2018, when they will no longer be able to be controlled about the new access controllers will not be able to control them because of software updates. So we have limited time on having to replace that. As far as classroom projectors, again, very embarrassing to see that there's actually 28 projectors that are over 10 years old. We are now standardizing on the new Panasonic projectors that are LED projectors that are awesome. They can work with the lights on, imagine that, and there's no lamp in there, no filter to change out, no maintenance, essentially going to get 10 years. great investments and things that are a great direction for us to move in. Because the older ones, we're spending every year and a half or two, we're spending $500 on land. So it's good when we can replace them, but you can see still we have a long way to go there. As far as our routers and switches, this is where danger zone. I put black, probably should have put red, but you can see the portion that basically, over almost shy under 600, maybe 500, 600 are over the age of 7 years. Can you imagine, and this is kind of one of the things I've been thinking about lately, think about this. Think about 7 years ago. Think about the network that you had 7 years ago. Think about the devices that you had 7 years ago. I can guarantee every single thing that's on your lap right now, that's in your pocket, that's in your bag, was not around 7 years ago. In fact, I believe iPhone wasn't around, I think it was closer to 6 years ago. So the infrastructure, the routers and switches that we had that were made back then and installed then are now managing all this and doing all this. We actually had a problem last year, the first night of class. We blew one of our routers. It couldn't handle the traffic going through. So thankfully we're doing some new construction, so we're able to grab one of a router or a switch and actually replace it with one that was going to be installed because we hadn't finished the construction. The construction was delayed. So thankfully we actually had an extra one lying around, but we essentially went to grounded to a halt the first night of class, which obviously isn't good, but you can see 860 total there. I'll go ahead and let Susan talk a little bit about TechQual and how we get some of the feedback we do.
So one of the things that's very important to us at the university is getting data from individuals and not just from EDUCAUSE and the other sources that we use. So have you all heard of TechQual? Does anyone here use the TechQual survey? I highly recommend it. It is a great way to get feedback from your users on what makes them happy and what makes them unhappy. And I know no one likes to hear the gripe, but it is a great resource to hear what people aren't happy about so that you can actually ask for funding because you have a high demand from students or from faculty and staff. So we do a TechWall survey annually, and we have for several years. So we have comparative data to say students are happier now that we have more wireless. They asked for it 3 or 4 years ago. We've gotten more APs. As we've gotten more and more APs that are better quality, their happiness has gone up. So it's great to be able to take that to the higher level people at the university and say, hey, this is where your money's gone, this is the benefit that it's had, and this is the actual impact that it's having. So we do that every year. We used to do it in the fall, and now we've switched it to a spring survey because you can't come on campus and then 2 weeks later be asked to assess your IT at the university. And we found that we have a very good feedback session in the spring. So we send that out to students, and then we also send out a separate survey for faculty and staff so that we can really batch the results and really analyze them. The other things that we do are we get customer service feedback from our help desk or solutions center. So every time tickets are closed, we send out feedback request forms saying, hey, how was that service? Was your problem really solved? And then those are things that we can look at and say, hey, we tried to fix it, but because of the technology resources that we don't have, we couldn't be successful. So you can take that information and again make requests to say, hey, we don't have the money for these things, but we need them based on customer demand. Because really that's what this is all about. We're in IT and we're customer service. I mean, that's what we do. We make things work, but we also have to make people happy. And then lastly, and this is probably one of the most critical things, we have meetings with stakeholders and colleagues. And Tom is not new to the university, but relatively new, several years. And one of the focuses that he's brought to us in IT is the importance of meeting with people on campus. He has monthly meetings with all the deans on campus. He meets with the executive team people. He goes to professors and shows them new technology like Zoom and things like that that they can utilize in their distance classrooms and really be successful with. And he takes the time to work with them so they can see what we can actually do for them. So those are key things that you guys could utilize to get more feedback to help you with the lack of resources. Tom?
Thanks, Susan. The other is transparency. I have infrastructure is not sexy. It's not. It's very difficult with some people to understand. I mean, they understand they'll see an access point, but they don't understand that if you don't have your core infrastructure, if they don't have your firewalls, if you don't have your border, if you haven't upgraded that, if it can't handle your pipe coming in, it's difficult to kind of show them. They don't it's very difficult to understand that, or at least I've found that difficult to understand and to be able to explain that. So it's one of these things, you literally are only as good as your infrastructure on the back end. It's much easier to put a fancy new projector in the classroom. It's much easier to buy a new tablet, a new Surface, or any of those kind of things. But as you all know, if your wireless isn't good, if you don't have the bandwidth coming in, it's only as good. You're literally as good as your core. I call it plumbing 101, but it's one of these things. If you got a big old pipe coming in, for instance, we have 2 gig right now. We're in the process of upgrading to 4 gig. We have a 10 gig connection up through Oak Ridge National Lab up to UTK, and we have a 10 gig connection down into Atlanta to SOX for our Genie rack. And it's one of these things, we're having to replace our core because we found in April that we actually thought we don't have enough bandwidth. I mean, we don't have enough bandwidth, but the current core, we're doing a upgrade on a Palo Alto, can't handle it. So basically, we have more pipe coming in, but because of our infrastructure there, it can't handle it. So our option is to open up and let anyone in China and anyone in the world come in, or to upgrade our course. We're in the process of doing that right now, and hopefully we'll have that done in the next couple of weeks before classes. Here's kind of a look at our organizational chart. Susan mentioned earlier, we had 20% of my staff retired July 1st. So it's nice to be out of town right now. But essentially, if you look up here, I have about 11 direct reports. We gave an incentive package, so they got 6 months salary on July 1st, which means that I have to wait 6 months to rehire the position because we're paying for the positions. So it's good. It's given us, it's kind of the other side of the rainbow now. That it's in the positive. It allows us to refocus instead of the way things we've always done. We're kind of looking at creating more of an applications team because that's more with data analytics and more of the things that we need to purpose and need to put positions in. We're trying to focus on that more. So that's and we're in the process of making this through HR right now, but I eventually will hire some type of a deputy CIO to help me out. But right now I have been deep in the day-to-day operations like never before. My operations guy, who was the previous CIO when I came in there, became a CTO, and I pretty much had him handle the operations side of the house, infrastructure. So now I'm doing that, which has been fun. I get to work with him more, but it's that balancing. Okay, meeting internally, but also trying to then go ahead and present and try and get resources for IT has been the challenge. Decentralized, does it really matter? It does and it doesn't. As far as decentralized, do you all have how many have decentralized IT on your campus? I'm assuming you all do. Okay, and it's kind of that dance. We have a lot of things that are happening right now in decentralized that shouldn't. Our card system for the university, we use a Seaboard product called. It's not CS Gold, I wish it was. It's called Odyssey, but that's not in central IT. We don't really have anything to do with it. We're trying some of these. In fact, our card reader server, I kid you not, was in a closet in the School of Business in someone's closet there, running. Yes, food, dorm access, all that. Not backed up in a computer. It's now in our data center, thankfully, but. So what I'm really trying to do right now is trying to put all the pieces together. Also, looking at these decentralized, what can be centralized, what can't be centralized. Some of the challenges, again, the ever-changing role of IT. I mean, things are continuing to evolve, and they will continue to evolve. It's one of these things, if you think you've made an organizational chart, wait 6 months. Because the state of Tennessee, we have an extra added that we are one of the first states that's performance-based education funding. So we receive money based on our graduation rates, not based on how many students we have in our chairs. And that's been a dramatic change for us. So it wasn't necessarily just get them in. It's get them out. And if you don't get them out, you get penalized. So 3 years ago, we lost $1 million. 2 years ago, we lost $800,000. Last year, we got $1 million because our graduation rates increased, because we're using analytics now to figure out. One of the favorite things was a lot of our professors like to teach a certain course in the spring. We didn't necessarily have students to take that class, but they like to do that. So now we're actually, imagine that, we're actually linking up so our students are getting the right courses so they can graduate. Because that is what we're here. That's what we're here to do. And then as again job demands changing as institutions become more dependent on IT, this is a curse and a blessing. There is everything. There is nothing at the university that does not. I'm probably generalizing a little bit, but doesn't run on IT. We are as important as anyone on that campus. You're talking HR. Yes, they're important, but what doesn't run on IT infrastructure? We have irrigation. Watering pipes now that are. Our HVAC units are, so we can pull up that information. We're going around to all of the lights on campus, and we're metering those lights. So we can pull them up on a GIS map. We actually map them. So we can actually pull it up, and you can find out what lights in there, what bulbs in there, what needs to be replaced. I saw on Monday at the executive summit, they're talking about a new, I'm going to butcher it, it's the new, it's a new chip from Intel that is like this big, that you can literally plant it anywhere. And it is RFID, and it's also Bluetooth enabled. So, I mean, literally everything is on the network. You're also fighting against competing resources. As Susan reported earlier, I don't know who all has just a blank check in your area. We don't. We've got, again, rising costs as our budgets are continuing to dwindle. We are only allowed to turn our tuition increase. We were 70% 10 years ago. We got 70% of our funding from the state, 30% from tuition. It's flipped. We now get 70% off of tuition, 30% from the state. So, and we all are funding. You can't raise tuition as much as we used to. We're now talking 2 or 3% at the most, instead of 6 or 7%. So how you're competing against everyone else on campus for those resources. And in Chattanooga, I mean, we've lost employees to Tennessee Valley Authority, Volkswagen. We have a big, all the Passats in America are made in Volkswagen and made in Chattanooga. I had one great. They just had their 500,000, but that Volkswagen actually outsources their IT to a German company who actually came in, and now their headquarters is in Chattanooga, but they're a competitor. Blue Cross Blue Shield as well. Anthem, Cigna, they're all in Chattanooga, so we're competing against all of them. I lost a guy to Scripps, our administrator for SharePoint lent to Scripps, which is Home and Garden TV. I lost him. He took the one, Scripps also took the one from Knoxville as well. So bringing it all together, it's a chance to do it right, and Susan and I are looking at this as an opportunity. You know, you talk about multiple plans, immediate 2-year. I mean, it's almost a 1-year plan, almost 2-year plan, just because things change so rapidly. A chance to revisit skill sets as far as some people we had old COBOL programmers that are having to look for other ways or having to be retrained on to do other things. And truly to become a 21st century organization that meets the needs of today's students. I mean, they are radically different. We right now in the process of integrating, how many banner people do we have here? Okay, so we are implementing ILP. Anyone heard of ILP? ILP is the Intelligent Learning Platform. So we will be the first school in the middle of this retirement. We will be the first school live on ILP. We're also implementing, and this allows basically, it's an awesome piece that allows for data to flow back and forth between Banner and Blackboard. We're also going to be doing mobile as well, because mobile is it. According to Lucian, let's see, 37% of registrations now for class are being done on your mobile device. And at LSU, 92% of their students use the mobile every day on campus. Their mobile version actually does allow, so you're actually getting almost everything out of Blackboard. You can see your course assignments, you can't upload them, but you can do pretty much everything on mobile. So we have to move in a more mobile environment. As much as we did a redesign of our website, it's mobile. We heard a Gartner consultant about 4, 5, 6 months ago and said, if you're designing a website, you don't get it. That's not the future, it's mobile. And just wanted to put up the Chattanooga Strong, but any questions we'd love to hear. Yes?
What does the ILP do?
It's literally, it's an integration pool. So it sits between Banner and it sits between Blackboard, and it flows data back and forth.
Do you have a certain application for that, or is it called ILP?
It's called ILP. And it is you can actually use it with their SharePoint portal. It's about, not that I told you, about $60,000, but it is their SharePoint portal.
It's different than building your own interface.
You can build your own interface, but I don't have the resources to do it.
And one more question.
Yeah.
Is the
TechWall is a survey that my old boss in Pepperdine, who's now the CIO at Georgia, techwall.org, TECHQUAL. It's free. It is awesome. You get it basically it puts against other peer institutions. There's a feedback form in there for students and staff and faculty to actually put comments in there. You can trickle that up. At Pepperdine, we use that to go to the administration to get about $850,000 for infrastructure upgrades. At your institutions, it's data. Use it. It's awesome. Like I said, it's free. There's a bunch of tutorials on there. If you're going to EDUCAUSE Tim has a workshop on it, but it is awesome. And it gives you the power. The whole thing, it gives you the power of the data, allow you to go to your boss, the chancellor, to the provost, to your president, and say, these are what the students are asking for. This is what the students are, and you can actually, again, over the year, you can show your improvements. It's a survey. It's a survey. Yes.
But does it come with best practice for IT, like a template for IT, or is
No.
you have to configure the whole thing?
No, it's not. It actually, it's really easy to send out the survey, and everything. You just put addresses in there, and just basically hit submit, and it goes out to whoever you want it to go out to.
But it doesn't have a template. Certain templates you can just use for IT, like certain questions to ask.
Oh, it does. All the questions, all the questions are in there. You can add, I think it's 13 questions, form questions, and you can add up to 5 of your own customized questions.
Great. Thank
Yes,
you very much.
you're welcome. Actually, let me get, yes.
Yeah, so what's your, the reporting structure?
I report to the CFO.
Okay, so is that, similar to our institution, have you presented all this data to?
We are in the process, yes, we're in the process, and I presented this to our chancellor as well. So we're in the process of kind of taking a step back and looking at all this stuff, and we actually had a consultant come out, so I'm very confident that this is, that we need to invest in IT. And just as your faces all dropped, that we need to make some strategic investments and need to be able to do this so we can move forward. There's no choice. I mean, yeah.
Your budget process, setting the budget, and what is your avenues to get in there and lobby hard besides the chancellor?
That's how we lobby. But also the other lobby is meeting with deans and also showing the statistics and showing where we've made an investment. You can see how the next couple of years it's gotten better.
Is that Henderson tied to the Tennessee legislature?
No.
State level?
No. We have more authority on the local level. Yeah.
So how much of your budget is to run and how much is to build new project?
As you can see, most of it's run. We maybe have a couple $100,000 of discretionary money in there. The rest of it is to keep us alive.
And have you ever, do you guys use external services providers to lower the cost? Do you look at it?
We've done some, but also there isn't. I mean, we're pretty much bare bones, and I basically say, put us against any other institution. You get the most bang for your buck that you're going to get. We've looked at trying to reduce some of the costs. We have reduced some of the costs, but we're down to there isn't much to cut. And also the game about hosting. We all know you're just paying one or the other. There isn't a cost. I mean, I had this discussion with someone earlier. I'm like, no, You know, it was like we just got this new ILP. We put up 4 servers for that. We just hosted Blackboard, which after yesterday's announcement, I'm really glad. Yesterday, Blackboard announced they're for sale. So if you have $1.3 billion, they're for sale. But the other thing is, hosted doesn't mean you're not really saving. You're just spending money this way. So there's So we've looked as much as we can, but it's an adventure. Do you have, yes?
So I was just wondering, we just took a $23 million cut, so we're having a lot of these questions as well.
Yeah.
At the whole university level. So one of the things that we're struggling with is we have a decentralized system, but when it comes to the pursuit of applications on our campus, the thought is automatically the central IT is going to do that, right? And so what we're really having to analyze is that we have 4 learning management systems. We have only one student information system, but we have 3 survey applications that people are using. How do you talk about that in a way where you're not shutting down creativity?
It's the best time. You're forced to do it. We use TechQual, love TechQual, yay. And every time I see a survey that goes out, or Susan sees a survey that TechQual, Qualtrics, yay for the Qualtrics. Whenever I see a Survey Monkey goes out, I send a quick email, why we have Qualtrics. But no, that's the time to discuss it and to get on one LMS.
Are you guys pursuing we only support this application policy, or how do you?
We've tried to kind of minimize it, and we're forced now that we can't do everything. We are trying to, let me phrase this correctly. We are trying to minimize development in SharePoint right now because we lost the SharePoint administrator and I can't hire another SharePoint administrator. So, and one of the big things here is change. How do you have an honest discussion about change when they're used to a certain thing? SharePoint. I love my SharePoint. Well, that's fine. We had it supported by one person at a university of 11,700 students. We had one person support. His name was Jim. He was a wonderful man. He was the one person that supported. You got the Mack truck theory. He left. We are in deep yogurt. So we've tried to support it with other things, but can we look at Google? Can we at least have the discussion? We use SharePoint for curriculum proposals. It's not. There are other things out there for curriculum proposal. From Kalea, there is, which is the open source from ERP there is a student module in it that is a course management, not a course management, but a curriculum proposal. Can we implement that open source one to solve this? I just want to have that discussion. But it sounds like the same discussion that you all need to have there. And that's, yes. And I would love to look at, okay, there's KISS workflow. There are other alternatives in Google that, hey, you know what? You set your own workflow up. It's really easy. Just go in there and drag, drop, and it'll go to the right person. But no, you're at a perfect, what university are you at?
University of Arizona.
Okay. Oh, yes. Wow, you're all huge. No, it's the time, but you have to look at, we're thankful that we have one LMS at UTC. At Pepperdine, we had 2, I was at Pepperdine before, we had two LMS. In fact, the business school there actually went and created and they actually made their own portal from Plumtree, which is a business thing, kind of combined it into one. But we had to have that discussion just because you couldn't afford to. Why are you spending all this money when, yeah, and it's the perfect time to have that discussion. So good luck. But you have to have it. Because at the same time, you're also talking about support. You're supporting 4 different ones. So it has to happen. Any other questions? Yes.
You mentioned at the beginning some benchmarking with standard, number of IT employees.
Yes.
Where did you get that from?
Educause.
It's all Educause.
All the Educause. I emailed Tennessee Tech and Martin. I emailed their CIOs, and the reason why Tennessee Tech's up there is Tennessee Tech's chancellor or president is our old chancellor, or excuse me, our old provost. So the first thing he did when he went up there is he put $3 million into IT and hired 30 staff. So that's why I put that up there. But that shows the investment there, and that's so yes. But that's the one thing about IT. not about, yeah, about IT, but about higher ed is like, we all share information. It's great. I mean, that is a true blessing of IT.
So
Of
we define this
higher.
in the EDUCAUSE, website?
Yes, if you remember, you're a member of EDUCAUSE and everything, right?
Yeah.
Core data and everything?
I'm sorry?
Are you a member of core data? Do you submit core data?
I'm not sure. Remember ECAR?
Okay. The thing with EDUCAUSE core data, it's open right now. It'll be open until September 15th, but they always move it to October 15th. If you fill out this, then you get access to it. And they automatically put you into your Carnegie class as well. So you can also benchmark against your Carnegie class.
They also pull iPad's data.
Yes, they pull yes.
They just most recently started pulling salary data.
So they're
That's a big help.
yes. So there's no go ahead, Susan.
I was going to say, it does take time to put that all together, but it's the most worthwhile investment that you can make, because once you get several years running and you can go in and pull several years of reports, it creates a wonderful picture and it gives a backbone to the story that you tell.
And my favorite thing is when I'm sitting down with a dean, when I don't have to get PowerPoint, I literally log into EDUCAUSE, I log into core data, and I go, there. I didn't touch anything. I didn't manipulate. There it is. So these are our contact information. Please send us emails, and I can send you this presentation very easily, and we'll add it to our website when we get back. But thank you very much.